South Africans living in the Northwest from today will no longer watch television for free, at least not on their old analog TV sets. Yesterday, Communications Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni switched off the last analog transmitter in that province. Analog TV broadcasts have already been terminated, for instance, in areas like the Free State and the Northern Cape. Government is racing against time to try to complete South Africa's broadcast digital migration by March next year, but that process has been far from smooth, I beg your pardon, with missed deadlines, legal action and policy uncertainty. Let's unpack this now. Media Monitoring Africa's director is William Bird. He's with us via our video link now. And William, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed for always making time. I don't want to take it for granted that, ordinary South Africans actually understand what's taking place here. So let's start with the basics. How would you describe what digital migration is and why it's important?
Good morning. So essentially, so the way television has worked historically is to use the frequency around us, so the radio waves effectively. And they use a particular band or grouping of frequency in hertz to broadcast their signals. And so there are lots of little stations and towers and stuff. Boosters all over South Africa. That means that when SABC broadcasts something, for example, it goes from there to through Centec, and the signal gets distributed around the country so that everyone can have access to television. And all you need is a pair of bunny ears, stand a little aerial like that, and you would receive your television signal. And of course, as technology has changed and developed, we've then moved to digital. And in order to receive digital signal, you then need to use something that is able to effectively decode that signal that comes through different waves and means in order for you to be able to receive that signal and watch television. The advantages of it are that it means you can get more programs over using a smaller amount of they call them multiplex, so you can fit a lot more programs into a smaller space. It means you can get higher definition and higher quality. You can run things like additional subtitles. You can run alternative audio to them, and to a degree you can introduce this idea of interactivity, especially as depending on the kind of devices that you have on the other side of your user side. So depending on the complexity, you can effectively start to have a bit more two-way communication. So there are a whole range of bonuses. One of the big ones, of course, is this thing that they talk about in terms of the digital, sorry, I've just forgotten the term now. When you release when you release the frequency in the spectrum for others, it means that the mobile operators in particular are the ones who've been fighting for this, because it allows them to use that in order to make sure that they can offer more and better services, faster things like 5G, etc., in order to get more people to have access to mobile devices, etc., right? So the digital dividend is what they call it.
Right, right.
So this has been a big mess, as you pointed out. We've missed every deadline we've set. And as you say now, they're switching off, they're going around, they're switching off the signal. So what we can commend the minister for, this minister, is the urgency around trying to get things moving and get this particular issue resolved. The problem is that where we are now, millions of people are going to be left without any form of television, because, as you pointed out, most people don't really understand what this is. If you've got a television and you've got ears, why would you need something else? Now, a lot of televisions then come with devices in them nowadays that are able to decode the signals. But one of the big issues has been this thing about set-top boxes. And effectively, there's a free set-top box that people could get if they were owning under a particular salary, or you can go and buy one. If you've got access to any of the other systems, you can either get OpenView or multi-choice, and you can get a set-top box that way, and you can then access the material. But
William, if I can come in there,
with a cost.
Yeah, all of that very important issues, and in fact, it's stuff I was hoping to ventilate with you. I mean, we always get a sense sometimes that there is someone somewhere who benefits from the chaos we've seen around this, given how protracted this issue has been. Are you able to help us carve out who is actually standing to benefit from how long this process has actually taken?
So, historically, it's tended to be multi-choice that has benefited from that, because it meant that they were able to gain a stronger foothold. They were able to get and ensure that their set-top box effectively was distributed to more and more people, instead of the alternative one that was being put forward by government and the other broadcasters. So that has historically been the biggest beneficiary of the delays to digital migration. The problem now, of course, is that the kind of technology that they were talking about, these set-top boxes that government is speaking about, millions of them have been sitting in warehouses. We don't even know if many of them are functional any longer. But historically, that's kind of been the issue. But in fairness to MultiChoice, there's been a whole lot of wrangles about this issue. There's been delays on the government side. We've seen minister after minister within the communication sector. It's only relatively recently that we've started to have a more stable set of communication ministers, so that you weren't getting a new minister every sort of 16 months or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And bear in mind that the state capture project didn't leave the communication sector unharmed and unscathed. So you've had issues with policy, and you've had all sorts of ideas and fights about that. There was lots of fights about the set-top boxes and the set-top box manufacturing, and a whole lot of those same factional issues that we've seen playing out within the ANC, we've seen playing out within this particular sector as well. So it's been a big mess, frankly.
Absolutely, and it's just one way of putting it. Well, thanks for helping us put this story into better context. I imagine it's a story that's far from over, and we'll keep watching it, hopefully with your assistance, as it continues to develop. William Bird is the Director for Media Monitoring Africa. Thanks very much indeed.